Mr. Will Woods, sir. Good morning.
Good morning, brother Rich. How you doing this morning?
Once again, better than I deserve.
Awesome. Always
I
glad to
should
hear
get
it.
that. I should get that trademarked. I wonder if
You
Dave Ramsey
should.
has it.
Yeah. Yeah, you should. I'm sure he missed that.
Yeah.
I'm sure his lawyers just never even thought, hey, we should get a trademark on that.
I remember when I was doing a sales and marketing consultancy, ripped off, what was it, UPS at the time? What can Brown do for you?
Yeah.
Remember that slogan?
Yes, I do.
Oh, I just stole that big time.
Yep. Well, as you should. I mean, they stole it from you, really.
True, true.
Yeah. So,
Um, so what have you been into?
we are empty nesters now, brother. It is weird. The house is quiet.
I hope
Very
you handle it
eerie,
better
very
than I did.
strange. What's that, brother?
I said, I hope you handle it better than I did.
Man, it's tough. So here's a funny little factoid for you. The so Greta ran our business for 20 something years.
Mhm,
And when the twins were young, the twins were the ones that just headed off to college. When the twins were young, she had to work a lot. It was that stage of the business.
mhm.
And so I was, I don't know, I hate to say primary caretaker for the twins, but I was much more active than probably most dads are because also my schedule, I'm home 4 days a week, right?
Mhm.
And you and I met because of them going to kindergarten or pre-K, actually. No,
No
actually, it was
way.
kindergarten because it was full day. Because when um, they started kindergarten, I really struggled because I was
Mm,
used to having them around and I ran out of things to do. So I got bored and I started a little laser engraving business.
mm.
And then someone I worked with actually told me about you guys' podcast. And then I would have just listened to the podcast and, subscribed eventually, like I did, became a life member, coin number 426. And that probably would have been that. But then I reached out to Mike because of the laser engraving business. So um, it's a little easier this time, but it's tough, you know. Um,
Yeah.
it really is hard. But it's a big adventure for them. And it's awesome. But it was a whirlwind of a summer for us because our oldest got married last month and then turn around and become empty nesters. So we went from planning a wedding, having a wedding, to becoming empty nesters. And yeah, so I'm truly hoping my wife needs another dog because then we're going to name it Pantera because that's the car I'm going to get. So the deal is she gets a dog, I get a car. So
Nice.
really hoping she finds a need for another dog.
I I I can't believe it's, that when we started the show, your children were in going to kindergarten, and now they're in college. That
Yeah.
now I feel old
Well, no, they weren't
officially.
in. They weren't in kindergarten. They didn't go to. They when they went to kindergarten is when I started the laser business.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because we're actually 5 this year or this month, brother.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
I
when
can't
you
remember the
probably
date of the first show, but I know it was September.
that's crazy, man.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
No, but I mean, as far as like you and you're getting into becoming an AWS member and all that kind of
Mhm.
stuff, I would assume that was probably what, 2015 ish.
Probably somewhere in there. I really don't know. I know I went for I did a 30-day a subscription or whatever the right
Mhm.
and then I figured out within about a couple weeks I'll just do the life membership and then I did that.
Michael Gentili's on. He says that's what makes you feel old.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
Michael,
that and the
don't get me
knees and the
started.
back and the elbow right now and yeah, all sorts of things make me feel old to be honest, Michael. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole empty nester thing. I tell you, man, I'm not even gonna. I mean, or funny, the kids kind of went away. Now they're kind of coming back in and living nearby and stuff like that, which is amazing. But yeah, I'm not gonna say I haven't, had some crying sessions alone. It's like you can't ever get it back.
You can't. No.
The memories
And
that you made are what they are, and they're frozen, these little fossils in time that you can look back on, and hopefully you got enough photographs to remember. And even it's just, I mean, it's all cliched kind of stuff, but
it
that
is.
stuff's
But
real.
exactly what I was going to say. It's all real and I was talking with my oldest last night. We were driving somewhere and it's like the constant battle. When the kids are young, especially as the dad, you want to, provide, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you're out there working, and then you don't have time to do stuff with them, or you have time to do stuff with them, and you're thinking, "Gee, I need to be making more money," and you look back, and there's no right decision,
No.
you know. So it's it's the struggles of life, so to speak, and um, in reality, if that's the biggest struggle we have to deal with, I think we're doing okay.
Well, and then, and thank you to the 7 folks watching us live. And it looks like most folks on here, Will Rhodes, Joseph is on, Gerald is on up in Oregon. Mark is up in Canada. Thank you to everyone watching. Please like, comment, and share. But yeah, I mean, that's part of taking care of your family, the financial piece, which obviously you'll talk about this morning with with your kind of economic outlook. And then I'll go into some of the stuff with mass shootings and stuff like that. But because both of those are a fact of life, sadly, here in
Hmm.
America, not much we
Yep.
can do about it, but maybe we can plan and prepare a little bit better. But yeah, these are all amazing things. And hopefully that will deepen your and Greta's relationship,
Yeah,
now
and,
that you
and
get to spend
you
more
know,
time together.
and we're looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Within the context of that, and it's a tough change,
Hmm.
but I'm just telling myself, it's a process. It's a process,
Hmm.
and it's exciting to watch. All three of the kids go off and chase their dreams and have their adventure, and
Hmm.
support them through that, and it's the circle of life, right?
Yeah. Did you ever read Quill Gabron's book, The Prophet?
No.
Yeah, there's a little chapter, and like the one on children is like, they're like an archer that draws a bow and let it go.
Hmm.
Those are your children. They're just in flight, and they're from you, but they're not you. They're going to live a life that is going to be different. But
Yep.
Ted is on, and
Yep.
without any further ado,
Yeah. We're going to dive into just a few slides here on some economic stuff I ran across, guys, and actually dovetails into the next time I'll be on the show. And we're going to start diving into some stuff. Consumer sentiment is changing out there quite a bit right now. And I see Alan Kelly is on from Occupied Virginia. Good to see you, sir. Um, the So your CNN's Fear Greed Index, our standard start here is at 64. I'm guessing that's going to come down a little bit today. Market's going to have a little turmoil this morning. Um, Not sure how much I really hang my hat on this stuff. However, September is typically one of the worst months of the market of the year.
mm,
Doesn't mean it can't go up. I wouldn't go out and do anything crazy based on that, but that's held up for years and years and years, decades actually.
mm,
So I think it just has something to do with people starting to pay attention more after summer, and who knows. So there could be any number of things. But um, one thing we do know here, looking at the bottom of this slide, is car loans are getting longer. And we all know what happened to car prices post COVID. Free money makes things expensive.
yeah.
And as people have been squeezed by other portions of the big inflation picture, car prices going up has made it harder to afford them. And so the easy way to make that payment affordable is to stretch it out for longer.
Hmm.
And we see
Or
here
save up and pay for it in cash.
you've noticed how America is, right?
Yeah.
So nope, we don't do that around here, brother.
Oh, sorry.
We don't
Because
do that around here.
we just bought a new F-350 for the business, and we went out and struck a check
Yep.
for almost $65,000, for a used F-350. Now, if we would have financed that, I mean, that would have cost, 100 and something thousand,
Yep.
or you could
That's
save it up. But
Yep.
I know how Americans are. I get it.
Absolutely. Yep. And so we can see here, this chart goes back to the first quarter of 2005. Your white line there is what us old guys think of as your traditional, well, I guess semi-traditional 5-year car loan. I can remember when I started looking at cars, it was a 4-year was the traditional one, but we morphed into 5, and that became the standard. And you can see how that went from basically 50% of car loans down to now we're riding about 15% with that.
Mhm.
Your blue line for your 6-year, which for some reason never seemed to get a lot of traction,
Mhm.
just kind of bounces sideways here around mid to upper 30s. But look at your red line here, brother.
It's
7-year car loan. Look at
going
that.
up.
Basically nothing in '05. And you can see it went up a little bit between '05 and '09 as the housing bubble happened. Housing became unaffordable. People had to do something to be able to afford that vehicle. But look what that's done since, say, 2013. It's quadrupled. Now it's up to just over what, 22% of loans, car loans out there are 7-year loans. I mean, you buy 4 cars, you pay a house off.
Yeah.
Just over the time, right? Um, Man, I mean, and most people don't keep cars that long. I drive the wheels off of mine.
Yeah. Same.
But yeah, so this is just a symptom of how long, how long people have to stretch those payments out for to be able to afford these prices for these vehicles now, especially trucks. Holy cow. Um, yeah, it's big numbers out there.
Yeah.
So
Ted is on Mississippi, as you said. Alan is on Occupy Virginia. He is coin number 1571. If you want to find out what becoming a coin member of the American Warrior Society is all about, got links in today's show notes. If you want to find out about our high risk environment course going on this November in Tennessee, 1 week training with me, Mike Seeklander, Justin Carroll, Will Parker, TC Fuller. Got a great lineup for you. Come down here and train hard with us for a week. You can find out more about that in the links in today's show notes. Tony says, if you think car loans are lengthy, wait till the Snap-on guy comes around.
that's no joke right there. Yeah. That's no joke. That's those Snap-on tools. They're pretty proud of those things.
But your grandkids will be using them. So there you go.
That is true. And the little grandkids aren't going to pay you for them either. No. So, but this is also, we're also, the other thing I noticed in the car market, and it's not in the slides today, so it's just an observation. It wasn't that long ago where there was such a shortage of vehicles that, you paid market rate for interest. And I think was it Toyota I just saw the other day, 0% interest? Chevy for sure is right down there. Because people are squeezed, and the easy thing to do is keep driving a vehicle for a few more years. And anecdotal evidence, I've got a car in the shop right now for a project I didn't want to tackle. And I was asking the service manager guy there, I was like, how's business going? And he said, really busy. Once people get to the point, they have to fix it. And a lot of people are putting stuff off and putting it off. And he says, until we say you need to do it, or you really shouldn't drive it. And then, he said many times people are like, okay, you got to I got to figure out how I'm going to do this. Well, that tells me their credit card's probably maxed.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it'd be like, just throw it on there, right? Tells me they don't have money in savings set aside for car repairs.
Yeah.
So that, very anecdotal. It's one shop in the middle of Wisconsin. I get that. But I would be willing to bet that's a fairly common story across the country right now.
Yeah. So going back to the truck we just bought, we traded in a 2006 F350 dually, and we thought we left a camera in the truck. So I went down the next day, probably around lunchtime. So it's been 23 hours since we traded in the truck, and I went down there. I'm like, hey man, I need to get this. I thought we'd left the camera. Turned out we didn't. But I'm like, hey man, I need to jump in the truck for just a second. And he's like, oh man, two of our salesmen drove it. And this is a 2006 F350 with almost 200,000 miles on it. Had problems. And he goes, then today we had 3 different people look at it and it's already gone. I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah.
A 2006. And so what does that tell you? You know?
And I'm guessing it wasn't gently used in your business.
No, it was used and abused. So I don't know what kind of good deal they put on it, but that just goes to show you, man.
Yeah. Well, and that's where, people are going further and further back. It used to be, if you're going to buy a used car, you don't want more than 3 years old, 4 years old. Now it's like, well, the year really doesn't matter. And I still have to wrap my head around buying a used gas powered vehicle with 130,000 miles on it and going, oh, it's good.
When I totaled my truck, it had 250,000 on it. And I mean, I loved it. I thought it looked brand new. It drove fantastic. I was prepared to keep it and bury me in that thing.
Yeah. Yep. I last truck 2 trucks ago was a Sierra, a 3/4 ton Sierra with a 6.6 Duramax in it. And that engine was still pulling strong with 360,000 miles on it. But up here in Wisconsin, the body and the frame were just rusting out like crazy. So
Yeah,
got rid of
it's
that.
Alan says, maintenance, maintenance, maintenance. Because I know you maintain your vehicles really well. I do
Mhm.
the same. I mean, I'll let somebody else do it, but it's all full
Yeah.
synthetic, and man, I tell
Yep.
you, I don't miss anything on it.
I preach to my kids fluids and filters.
Amen.
That even when it seems expensive, it's cheap compared to a new vehicle.
Hmm.
And just keep hammering away on that routine maintenance. And even if it seems like the factory recommendations are a little ridiculous, do it anyway. And
Yeah,
if I can segue for just a minute, a little public service thing out there.
sure.
I did some research on my gas powered vehicles. Um, a lot of times I recommend now 10,000-mile oil changes.
Mhm.
And I forget the name of the outfit I follow on YouTube. It's the guy's name is Sherwood. It's Royalty Auto, somewhere in Georgia, I believe. Great if you can find them on YouTube. Great stuff if you're into cars and working on cars. And they did a bunch of research, and they're actually down to recommending 5,000-mile oil changes, no matter what the book says. And I found a couple of good videos out there explaining the why on this. And I changed from 10,000 miles to even 7,500 down to 5. And the
I
reason
let the computer tell me when. I've heard that's a pretty damn good way too.
it can be, but um here's the rub on it.
Mm,
The to get the fuel mileage numbers out of these newer, especially really newer gas powered
mhm,
vehicles, they're really loosening the um standards is the word I'm looking for, tolerances inside these engines.
mm,
So for instance, the rings on the piston aren't as tight to the cylinder wall as they once were to reduce friction.
mm,
So oil's blowing by and getting into the combustion chamber and then being burned. Well, that may also makes your oil a lot dirtier.
mm,
And then to reduce friction, say around the timing chain in some of these trucks, they make the orifices really small. So
mm,
less oil, so that timing chain isn't sloshing through so much oil because that reduces friction.
mm,
So it it's become one of those things where to get the gas mileage numbers to make the EPA happy, to make the tree huggers happy, they're actually making the engine so they self-destruct over time. Now it's not a design thing, but that's the upshot of it is they self-destruct. So, check your fluid levels more often because I
mhm.
can remember, I wouldn't even check my oil level between oil changes. Now I do because
Yeah.
it's amazing how much more the newer ones are burning because of that.
Mhm,
Those things, and they're finding more and more problems inside these motors earlier on. Yeah, 125, 150,000 miles. They're finding what used to look like a 250,000
really?
mile motor. Yeah,
Mm,
very. So it completely changed my opinion on
okay.
oil changes. So
I'm gonna
take it
dig
for
into
what it's
that.
worth, but yeah, it's a big thing. I see Jay's on. Haven't seen you in a while, brother. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you. It's early over there in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Brian is on from North Texas, a little bit late. Mark reminds us,
Mhm.
pay now or pay later.
Yeah.
Uh, Michael Gidelli says, daily driver is an '08 with 156,000 miles, and my weekend driver is an 87 with 100K. Always change oil around 3,000 miles. Yeah, that's the way I grew up. Every 3,000, man.
Yep.
You just
Yep.
do it.
That was the old number. Then it started stretching out, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So, oh, it's talking zinc additives now. You going down my road there, brother. Older high performance motors need some zinc in them, especially if you got flat tappet cams in there. So, yeah. Sorry, I went Greek on you, didn't I,
Thank
brother?
you.
No. Okay. All right. Yeah. Just don't sweat it. So, all right. So let's dig into some meat and potatoes here now that we went down the car rabbit hole. So this from Wall Street Journal. The middle class vibe has shifted from secure to squeeze. Well, we kind of knew this was coming, right? Inflation eventually eats in there. So it says here after months of tracking high income earners positive economic outlook. So your high earners were very positive. Usually, as you go down the socioeconomic chain, it becomes more pessimistic. Well, middle class had been running with the high earners for quite a while because let's face it, they could change jobs, move up. They had the power there for quite a while. Well,
Mhm.
that's eroding. And that power is eroding. The ability to go in and demand higher wages, kind of whenever you want to, is eroding. And with that, the optimism is eroding. Well,
Mhm.
People spend based on how they feel.
That's
You
right.
and I, it's a math problem. Most of the guys here watching, we know everybody here well enough to know that it's a math problem. Most people spend on feelings. So
Which is
this is why
crazy,
we have
but
to,
it's what it is. What it
but
is.
it is what it is, right? And to an extent, even those of us who it's a math problem, we still do some feelings in there, right?
Mhm.
It's never 100% math. So um we can look at this and go, okay, and we see in the University of Michigan sentiment statement, consumer sentiment that came out last week, is starting to erode. When they start feeling not secure, this is when they pull back spending.
Mhm.
See also Target stock, Walmart stock. Walmart just reported earnings here. Their earnings were okay-ish, but then the stock went down a fair amount. I think 6% that day, whatever it was. And it was outlook on the consumer that
Mm.
did that. So Target has any number of problems going on there. Um, so we'll see how this shakes out. If it continues on the current track, I would consider this to be, the start of the downturn of the middle class sentiment.
Mm.
So yeah, we're way past due. I mean, we haven't had a recession since '09, really. I mean,
Yeah.
put a asterisk by COVID, of course. We should have had one, you know, should have had maybe three in that period of time. Silicon Valley Bank should have kicked something off. I know I thought it was going to. Now papered over that.
Yeah.
The Fed printed money to shore that bank up. We should have had one in what 18-ish. They papered over that. So,
You
it
can't do that
becomes
indefinitely. I know we sound like a
yeah,
freaking broken record. It's just going back to the math problem. You just
yeah,
cannot keep doing it.
yeah. Well, eventually, eventually the market loses faith in your debt,
Mhm.
but that has not happened. And the debt here in this case is the U.S. Treasury. So, we'll just keep going and see what happens. So, yeah. So, um, so this one dovetails into our talks about fourth turning and how this plays in, and I think the fourth turning plays into the second part of the show where you're going to talk about mass shootings as
Yeah.
well. I think we're going to see more of that. You mind
Please
reading this one off for
explain
us?
just
Okay.
for we got 14 folks watching us live, and I know that you and I use these terms, and a lot of the folks watching just they get it with the fourth turning. But for those that don't obla, can you explain
Mhm.
what that is,
Sure.
bro?
Fourth turning. So the old saying is, hard men create good times create soft men create hard times create hard men. So that's a 80-year generational cycle. Each generation is 20 years in there, in the study of demographics. And so we are in the soft men create hard times phase of this.
Yeah.
And
Welcome to
soft
it,
men in
folks.
this case, I'm from an economic standpoint, this is every time there's a problem, we don't suffer pain, we paper over it. The government forgives debt, the government prints money, all those things we've seen really since the housing crisis. The and Michael hits the nail on the head as usual. It's a sad
Yeah.
commentary that the U.S. economy is simply the tallest dwarf. Yes,
Yes.
absolutely, and that's where we're
He's
at.
quotable. Michael Gentili is quotable, sir. I'll tell you
Yep,
that.
yep. And so this is where we are, and this is there's a lot of social upheaval that happens inside the fourth turning every time. Neil Howe and Strauss. I can't remember Strauss's first name. I know he passed away, but I can't remember his first name. They wrote the fourth turning, and
Mhm.
Neil Howe a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, came out with the fourth turning is here now, or
Mhm.
whatever the exact title was. It was something like that. Excellent books. Dry though.
Mhm.
Gosh, I mean, if you're short on Ambien, read that. I mean, it's great information. I actually suggest just watching Neil Howe's interviews on YouTube, the long format stuff, like an hour ish. You'll get basically the same information and not have a bruise on your forehead from falling asleep and hitting your desk. Um, but this is where we are, and it's a human thing. You can track it back through history. It happens over and over again. It doesn't happen exactly the same every time, of course, and it doesn't happen on an exact timeline. So it's a process. But that's where we are. And the next 4 or 5 years are going to be interesting, shall we
Yeah.
say. And as we know, may you live in interesting times is a curse, old
Yes.
Chinese curse. So it's going to get interesting. So um, and to that, go back one slide there, brother.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Um, So this is from the Wall Street Journal. You mind reading this one off for us?
Love to. Inequality 2.0 is alive and well. American capitalism remains fiercely competitive, remarkably productive, resilient in the face of thousands of doomsayers, and the author of a persistent wealth gap. Inequality significantly increased in the 1980s and 1990s, and it remains well above previous levels. In 1979, the top 1% of earners took home 10% of the pie. Today, it is higher than 20%. Taxes and social transfer levels it, but only a bit. In 2022, the affluent 1% collected 22% of total income and 19% after taxes.
So this is part of the fourth turning. And income inequality, you know, we can go back to the Occupy Wall Street thing. That's what that was rooted in. It's math.
Mm-hmm.
We can set aside politics on this. It's math, and here's the math right here. And this is the oxymoron of printing money to help the little guy, because it ends up, as we've talked about, it flows to the big guy.
Mm-hmm.
Because people lower on the chain tend to on the economic chain spend their money. They don't invest it. Stereotypically speaking here, guys.
Mm-hmm.
So when they spend it, it ends up in the hands eventually the top 1%. And if it's not directly, then people who get it, no matter what their income level is, they invest it. And who owns most of the stocks? The top 1%, the top 10%, right?
Sounds a lot like Reaganomics, trickle down.
Yeah, and I'm probably going to take a few guys off here.
There we go.
Trickle down worked exactly once, and it worked because we started from such a high tax rate. I mean,
True.
let's remember that at that time the highest marginal tax rate was it still 90% at that time?
I don't know.
It was really high. It was well over 40. I know that for sure. But at one point, I think it was back in the 50s or 60s, the top marginal tax rate was 90%.
Nobody paid that though.
Well, you're right. And the reason nobody paid it was because company benefits were not taxable income.
Mm-hmm.
So you get a company car, you get company subsidized lunches in the cafeteria, right?
Mm-hmm.
You get all the things. You're exactly right. Nobody paid that, but it made certain segments of the population, usually those who couldn't do math, feel really good.
Yeah, exactly.
And so when that changed, and when Reagan changed the tax rates and lowered capital gains as well, that was the other big one.
Mm-hmm.
Money did flow into the economy, but again, we were starting from such a low point in the early 80s that it had an outsized effect. Now today, when Team Red says, "Oh, we'll lower taxes and we'll make it up on the backside with it," it doesn't work anymore, guys. It's just math. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I like lower taxes. I like lower taxes. I like having more money in my own pocket, but it doesn't have that effect on the economy anymore. It really doesn't.
Okay. So my friend Michael Gentili was on, he was explaining to me, we're talking about the troubles in Northern Ireland, and which is going to play into the second half of the show, which is going to talk about mass shootings. And he's like, what stopped the troubles in Northern Ireland? I said, no, they goes repeal the capital gains tax. I'm like, what? Yep. And there's a strong case to be made there that since people suddenly can make money, those of us that remember, they were looking at the economics of the world at that time, the Celtic tiger. Once they did that, business in Ireland just exploded, right?
Yep.
And one of the strongest, they went from one of the poorest countries in Europe to just overnight, just crushing it. And so now go get a job. People could actually make money. There was no sense in throwing Molotov cocktails at the police in the streets anymore. It didn't make sense to be engaged in sectarian violence, now you could make money, you could have a family, you could do this and that. So I think as we see the middle class disappearing and we see income inequality growing, to your point, you're going to see these problems.
Absolutely.
I think
it's rooted in frustration. And I'll go a little bit further in that we know with the capital gains tax, which I know you know this, but just to put a little twist on that, capital gains tax happens when you sell something, right? And so suddenly, instead of just earning a wage like you alluded to, which people did earn wages, but it's really easy to throw rocks through the window of a business until it's your business.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's real easy to stand by and watch other people do that to some business. But when it's your business, you go out there with a stick and whack somebody in the head when your window's broken, right? Yeah. because
AKA
now,
the rooftop Koreans in 1992 LA
yes,
riots,
yes, it's all
right?
fun and games until the rooftops start speaking Korean.
Yep.
Um, but this is the, and I really like that point that he made. You unleash capitalism and give people something to look forward to. Give them hope,
Yeah,
and hope in themselves, not hope in some government program.
exactly. Screw
Reducing
that.
capital gains tax isn't a handout,
Mhm.
right? It's you got to go work and earn it and build something, and then there's an incentive there because it's not all getting taxed away.
Yeah.
And I love that. Um, you know, but it's got to happen, and you got political hoops you got to jump through to get there.
Tony says taxation is extortion. Changed my mind. Yeah, I can't. I agree with you.
Yep.
However, when you just paper over every freaking problem, the only way you can get that excess money out is through taxation. It's modern monetary theory. The only way to pull it out is to tax the hell out of you and your family.
Yep.
So as all this shit sloshes around, like we got to get it out, or we're going to have runaway inflation. We'll just keep taxing. Well, that works till it don't, until
Yep.
people get pissed off and throw the tea in the harbor and say enough's enough.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we may live through that again. I hope not, but something's got to happen.
Well, and modern monetary theory is neither modern nor a theory. We know exactly
Right.
what's going to happen.
Discuss. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, 3-page essay on that for next Monday. So again, from Wall Street Journal, same article. So remember the first part of this, we talked about the wealth gap, income gap here in the US. So this is where it got interesting. Europe is more equal, but also poorer.
Hmm.
Per capita income in Arkansas, one of the poorest states, is greater than in Germany. Now, I did a little
Wow.
digging on this, and I found this to be true when you use what's referred to as PPP dollars. And that doesn't mean the COVID thing is purchasing power parity. Um, so you can, if you do triple P stuff, then you can compare country to country. So overall, per capita income is in the U.S. is an astonishing 84% higher than in Europe.
Hmm.
The gap shrinks if one adjusts for purchasing power, but by any measure, more Americans are employed. They have bigger houses, more washing machines. Here's the key: more air conditioning
Mhm.
and computers, and they eat out more. And the differences are significant. So I did a little digging on this. I didn't come up with a bunch of charts to try and keep time down today, but I found this to be absolutely true. And then you ask yourself, okay, so why are Europeans happy with their system? And why are they not seeing? I don't remember a big Occupy Wall Street movement out of Europe at the time. If I'm wrong on that, somebody correct me. I'm
Mhm.
flying off the seat of my pants here at the moment. But if we go to I think the next page,
Okay.
can't remember what's there. Now go back. Sorry. So they went on to talk about in this article about how Europeans up and down the socioeconomic economic chain are generally happier because, and this is the opinion of the article, was that there were more handouts to the lower end. So that sucked money off the higher end and redistributed it.
Mhm.
And without going too far down the rabbit hole here, in the interest of time, let's look at Mondami in New York City. When you've
Yeah.
got a bunch of young people who are like, we can never afford a home. We can't afford these prices. And, let's face it, these prices have gone nuts. Okay. There's still
Mhm.
opportunities out there. I'm still bullish on America, always will be. But let's face it, it's not like when you and I were kids.
No.
Just It's just how it is. Look at the price of vehicles and so on and so forth. But that's the allure of that. And they can point to Europe and go, see, people are happy there.
Mhm.
Well, the problem, in my opinion, with Europe is you can also never really you can't. It's very difficult to build wealth as a regular person in Europe compared to the United States.
Mhm.
And that was, I think, the point of this Wall Street Journal article in reading the whole thing was that, if you want to get by and do okay and have an opportunity to have a decent life, but not ratchet up, to the full American dream 10.0, in my opinion, European system isn't going to get that done. But
Mhm.
to a lot of younger folks who, you know, barely affording rent, can't afford to go out and do these things that they saw their parents do at certain ages, it's a real thing, and it's going to play into this. And I think it's all part of that fourth turning. We have to work our way through this, work through some of the excesses in the system, and it's going to be painful. And there's going to be a lot of social strife that goes along with that. What's Michael said there?
Well, for one, he's talking about the Europe things relative to Occupy Wall Street. So they go on strike, which we've seen innumerable times, especially in France. Goes on to say there's also a silent, baked-in social dynamic. The government has an a priori right to tax and regulate.
Yeah,
yeah,
and I've read theories on that in Europe. That even goes back to feudal times, because if I'm screwing this up, say so, but it goes back to, you know, back to the days of the knights and the kings and the castles, and the European psyche is very entrenched in there's somebody in charge and I do my bid and they take care of me. And in America, we're like, yeah, F you. I'm gonna go do my own thing.
Yeah, we fought a war to get up underneath that.
Exactly. So, the different systems, but I can.
But how do you get the money? But let's go back to the how in God's, if they can find some other way to get the money out without taxing you and I to pull it out because they have to, or I mean, the other idea about inflation, we think of inflation means, things cost more. No. The root of that is that they've inflated the currency.
Correct.
It's not the inflating of the prices, but somewhere along the way, those things became conflated. But it's only because they've inflated the currency. Now, how do you get the money out without taxation? I'm not saying it's right. I hate it.
Yeah, and I hear you. But trying to spitball a solution, right? It's either the excess gets so bad there's a crash, right?
And you let it crash.
And you let it crash. That's the key right there. You got to let it crash, which I don't see any politician in America allowing happen. No. I really don't. I mean, and that goes back to the voters, because the voters are like, we'll just print money. It's worked since 2010. I mean, we've had a tremendous bull run in every market you can think of since 2010. Right?
And it will work till it does not.
Yep.
Let's face it. It may continue to work for 20 more years, or it may not.
It could. Yeah. As long as everybody stays on board with the system, right? As long as Michael said, we remain the tallest dwarf.
That's right.
Right.
That's true. Isn't there like 11 countries that use our currency as their own?
Yeah.
I think there's 11 countries that use our currency. Jeff says, Will, what do you know about Autopilot app that follows Nancy Pelosi's stock trades?
I don't know anything about the Autopilot app, but I do know about the Nancy Pelosi ETF. November Alpha, November Charlie is the ticker for that. I keep a little bit of money in there just for giggles. It does quite well. Now you do it on basically a 90-day lag, because congressional members have to divulge all their investments every quarter, and this ETF just goes out and buys whatever Nancy bought. And
it'd be nice if you could do it in real time, wouldn't it?
No doubt, right? Especially if you could go buy options on, because her husband loves trading options right before there's a big vote on something that she knows which way it's going to go. I know it's really just a quinky dink and nothing there.
I'm sure there's nothing to it.
Yeah. So what's this one say for the end?
Everybody wants to be great until they see the invoice. You can't borrow greatness. You earn it in private when nobody is cheering or checking. That's from Inky Johnson.
Yep. So true. And the big part is nobody's checking. You got to hold yourself to it. So doesn't matter what it is. So, all right. What do you got for us, man? I'm looking.
Well, I'll tell you, this is not going to be as happy as maybe some of the stuff that we talked about this morning. Not that any of your stuff was cheery, but
I don't do cheery.
No. No. I find that there's no real value to it. Mass shooting, debriefing, and proposed solutions. This one goes back to a show Seeklander and I did 3 years ago. So I thought it's worthy enough to dust off this old show. Back then, we didn't create slides for it. We had a downloadable PDF that would kind of give you some talking points and some ways to frame the argument. So we're just going to fly through some of this. Again, just want to reframe the argument. Let's look at these shootings and dispel some of the myths surrounding them. We're going to look at current governmental data. We're going to look at anti-gun sources. We're going to look at everything and seek to put these terrible tragedies into the appropriate context and then present some solutions to mitigate risk without infringement on your rights, which is the big one here, because it's easy to, the left side just, well, it's easy, just take away the gun. There's always a gun involved. So take away the gun, the tragedy doesn't happen. And then, but as we've seen, the worst mass shooting in world history was in Norway. A guy killed 77 people. And again, he did it lawfully right up until the point where, he took all the classes that Norway mandated. He actually went around to other European countries and tried to buy guns there. And when he found out it was too hard, it took him a couple of years. Like, oh, screw this. I'll go back to Norway. You want me to take a class? Not a problem. You want me to say I'm going to be a good citizen? Roger that. You want to have people come to my house, inspect my safes? Not a problem. I got to do so many competitive shooting events in a year, and then I can finally take my gun home. Not a problem. He complied with every single stupid mandate they put in place and then killed 77 people just as soon as he got those things.
I want to stop you right there for a second. How long did he do this?
Years.
This wasn't, oh my gosh, my puppy died, I'm going to go do this. This was planned out for, I believe the number you said was 2 years he took to do all this.
Yeah, so there's a really good movie about, I think it's called July 21st or something like that, where he actually went onto the island dressed as a policeman. Do you know that?
No.
I won't go into too much of it, but it was incredibly diabolical. He set off a car bomb near their White House in Oslo.
Okay.
And as everybody's rushing to deal with what have we got here? Is this Islamic terrorism? What just happened? The president and his cabinet felt the explosion. He jumps on a boat and goes over to an island where there was a summer camp going on with all these children. And that's where he killed the bulk of like 50, 60 children. He just chased them around the island, killing them. There was nothing they could do to stop him.
And for a little historical context, I don't know if he studied the history of this, but Bath, Michigan
was the worst school shooting in America. Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, there wasn't a single shot fired.
It was explosives. Yeah.
It was explosive. So I
heard that he did shoot at kids as they left the building. I
read the book. Was it called Maniac? I believe the story of this guy. He put explosives in the school. This is the 1930s. Put explosives in the schools, set it off, and then when the townspeople responded to it, he drove up his old Model A Ford pickup truck as an vehicle-borne IED.
Yeah,
and blew that up. So
this is 1929, I think you said.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
So.
I know the reason it didn't get a lot of coverage was Lindbergh crossed the Atlantic like 2 days later, and that sucked everything out of the news cycle. But yeah, it's a very interesting book. Nothing new under the sun.
Yeah, Donald says it was. Yeah, Bath. He shot his wife and horses. Yeah, he left a sign on the gate like says criminals are made, they're not born, because I think he was the local treasurer or something and lost an election. He was pissed off. I can't remember.
He was a farmer, and at the time, it's history repeats, right? There had been a huge run up in crop prices. Farmland went ballistic crazy in pricing. He bought a bunch of farmland, and then when crop prices came down, farmers were going bankrupt everywhere. At that same time, they went from the little red schoolhouses to more of what we think of as a school system now, and instituted property taxes to pay for it. He was pissed off about the property taxes. And he had been, I believe it was treasurer on the school board. And that's why when he was going in and out of the school in the middle of the night, planting the explosives, nobody raised any flags on it because he was on the school board.
Jeez.
Yeah. So he planned that for a significant period of time.
Same, yeah. Alan says, take away the gun is the mantra of the Democratic candidate for Virginia's gubernatorial race. She is leading in the polls, 49% to 34%. Occupation may be totalitarian nation. Donald Green says, school board treasurer, handyman, and mad at property taxes. Yeah. Kyle is finally on. Thank you so much.
See you. Yeah. All right. So what you got? Sorry to take you down a rabbit hole there.
No, I love it. I think the actual multi-page document where I'm referencing this morning, we actually talk a little bit about Bath, but not much. Second Amendment, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. 27 simple words. Been around since 1791. This is something that it if you look at what's the purpose, it ain't for hunting. It's not for sporting. It's none of the crap that the left wants you to believe. It's for one thing and one thing only. And I'm going to quote here. It's fair to say that the right to alter and abolish the government, to the degree that modern people claim they have the right, the framers certainly believe this. And that's from the president of the National Constitutional Center. And he was on CNN saying that. It says, in that sense, it's historically accurate to say the framers did recognize the natural right to self-defense. And then, of course, Columbia v. Heller reestablished that right. So did McDonald v. Chicago. I won't belabor the point, only to say we have a natural right to self-defense because the mission of law enforcement is, quote, the core mission of the police is to control crime. That's the first line if you go to the Department of Justice. That's the first sentence, full stop. It's not to serve and protect. That's just marketing bullshit. Yep. You are your bodyguard. You're your family's protector. Framers gave you the right to self-defense. They gave you the right to overthrow a tyrannical government. They gave you the right to keep and bear arms. The police are not here to help you. And if you don't believe me, I could cite a bazillion examples, but let's use this one.
We can, are you going to go into the Supreme Court talking about this? Is that where that's going?
Well, no, I talked about, I didn't go into it, but Columbia v. Heller and McDonald v. Chicago. These are two Supreme Court rulings about the Second Amendment.
Yeah, I was referring to the Supreme Court ruling on the police duty to protect.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So a great example here, in my opinion, is in New York City, a man named Gelman was on a 24-hour stabbing spree when his final victim, Latino, boarded the subway car he was in. The stabber, Gelman, confronted the police officers that were in a secured area in the subway with his knife, and they did nothing. So he turned to Lorenzo and said, "You're going to die." Lorenzo lunged at his would-be killer, and they struggled physically while Gelman stabbing Lorenzo in the head. Both men fell to the ground, and Lorenzo, bleeding heavily, finally disarmed Gelman. Only then did the NYPD officers leave the secure area and intervene to apprehend Gelman. So basically, only after he had disarmed him and won the fight did NYPD come to his rescue. And the reason they said they didn't intervene, I thought he had a gun. So this prompted Lorenzo to sue the city of New York, but he lost the case in 2013, not because the Supreme Court justices there in New York didn't believe him, or that he lacked any kind of evidence, because he lost because the precedent had already been established by the U.S. Supreme Court. The cops have no duty to protect you or anyone. Yep. And so whether it's Parkland or Uvalde, you can't, those police officers aren't necessarily getting sued. Now, Parkland, he was charged with criminal negligence, and all that was overthrown. And he was allowed to walk free. They have no duty to protect you. Zero.
Well, and on the Parkland one, the part of that one was at the time I read reports and I found it sent, so I'm going to stand by it, is that there was two sheriff's deputies at a neighboring county who were on the SWAT team, heard the calls. They were on their day off, hanging out, and they heard the calls for the Parkland school shooting, and they loaded up and went over there and started kidding up in the parking lot. And the lieutenant in charge there told them to stand down, and they went, "I don't work for you." And they went in and they got fired for it.
Yeah.
For insubordination. And then one of the I forget which one of the famous Florida sheriffs we love to watch on YouTube that just tell it how it is, hired him the next day. Said, you're my kind of guys. So they're being told to stand down while they think there's still active killing going on in the school. So learn nothing since Columbine in that particular case.
Nothing. And you've already saw it again. Nothing since Columbine. And if you go back to 1997, the North Hollywood shootout there with those two heavily armed and body armor head to toe guys, they sued the city of Los Angeles, went after those SWAT guys who killed those guys as well. And I was really shocked to learn that. I only learned that maybe a year or so ago, that they went through a long court battle because it was like, well, you didn't call in an ambulance. You just let him bleed out on the ground. Like, the scene was still active. We don't know what's going on. It was fluid. I don't know if he's got a bomb strapped to him. We've been shooting him. He's not going down. What's going
Yep.
on? I'm not going to bring an ambulance in here. I'm not sure what's going on. Well, because you didn't act quickly enough to get EMS in there, he died. Bless his heart. So we're going to fire you and sue you, and you're going to fight for your life and for your house because we're going to try to take it all away from you. So even when the good guys try to intervene, there's a cost associated, I guess, is where I'm going with that.
Yeah, and then gee, police recruitment numbers are down.
Weird.
I wonder why.
So, stricter gun laws obviously don't work. Thank you to the 16 folks watching us live. If they did, Baltimore, Chicago, New York City would be the safest places on the planet, which of course they're not. We have over 300 federal gun laws and about 20,000 if you stack up all the state and local level gun laws. I mean, hell, heroin is illegal, cocaine's illegal. So, and of course, if you ask me, gun confiscation leads to genocide. So I'm all the way out on that. If you look at the 20th century was the bloodiest in human history. Millions of people died in battle, but what's even worse is the 60 million to 150 million innocent people that were killed in mass slaughter, aka genocide.
Yep.
And guess what, man? They were
biggest
killed
killer. The biggest killer in history is gosh, what am I trying to say here? Sickness,
mosquitoes.
Yeah, I mean that sort of thing. The name of it is escaping me. But the second one is I heard it's government side.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I'm getting at. They were killed by their own governments.
Yep.
But they had to disarm them first, and then you can kill them at your leisure. So,
yep.
Which is why we have the Second Amendment. It's not for hunting. It's not for sporting. It has, in my opinion, two purposes. One, it's a check against a tyrannical government, and two, an inherent right to self-defense. Can we ban our way to safety? No. I mean, you look for those of us long in the tooth that have been in the gun community for a long time, like me and you, Will, and Tony, and Alan, and heck, everybody that's on the show today watching.
Yep.
We remember we went through the 1994 assault weapons ban, 1994 to 1996. Well, when that thing was allowed to lapse, and we went back, the Department of Justice, National Center for Justice, they did a research on it to see, well, did it work? Did it have any effect? We've got 2 or 3 years of solid data. And the ban did not produce declines in the average numbers of victims per incident of gun murder or gun murder victims with multiple wounds. It was a complete failure. John is on Yukon, Oklahoma.
Good to see you, John.
So banning didn't work. Let's look at Mexico. Maybe that's a fluke. Mexico and gun control. Since December the 11th of 2006 to present day, now that's when the narco wars in Mexico are alleged to have kicked off. A total of anywhere from 350,000 to 400,000 Mexicans have died in narco-related homicides. I didn't say drug overdoses. They've been shot, killed, blown up, had rocket launchers shot at them. That's almost 500,000 dead in 15 years. They only have one gun store in Mexico.
And I believe it's on an army base, isn't it?
It is on an army base, and they sell about 38 guns a day. So you do the math on that one.
Yep.
So they tried it, and it's not working.
And as a great piece of that, there was a period of time in there where there were citizen security forces in certain small towns in Mexico, and they were incredibly effective until the government came in and quashed them. Because they were using, in most cases, I would assume, illegally procured guns to have this security force. And so the government came in and quashed them, and the cartels went, "Now, thank you very much."
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah.
We saw the same thing in the South African farm murders. The farmers banded together, and they created these things called the commando or something like that. It's an Afrikaans word that essentially means commandos. Okay. But it was essentially a group of farmers that would look after their area. I mean, I live on Potato Farm Road, lots of farmers down through here. And I would imagine if we were in South Africa, we would band together, we would train together. Our families would have meals together. We would form these tight societal bonds. And if one of my neighbors called in the middle of the night and said, "Hey, we're under attack, they're trying to kill us," we would go down there and defend them. What did the South African government do? Nope. Disbanded the units, made them illegal, took their guns away, et cetera, et cetera. And then the killings just went back without stop. So you cannot do this. If you do, you're only helping. Now, to the Mexico thing, what's another interesting, if you want to get a gun in Mexico, you're going to have to apply for it. And that application can get denied at any point. It has to go all the way to the Attorney General of Mexico. And if he grants you that privileges, gives his stamp, you've got like 72 hours or whatever to get to that place, that one army base in central Mexico, show your credentials all the way through, and you get to go to the gun counter and buy your one gun. That's if you play by every rule.
I think the key word used there was grants you permission.
Exactly.
So, that is so foreign, pardon the pun, to us Americans. We don't get granted that, right? God granted us the right to self-defense.
That's right.
We use the weapon as a tool of that.
Yes. So we didn't ban matches to stop, accidental fires and arson. In 2019 alone, there were over, 1 million fires, 3,704 deaths, 16,600 injuries, and 14.8 billion in damages. Of course, that's in 2019 dollars. And that is with smoke detectors, fire extinguishers, professionally trained immediate reaction force, aka firemen. And we've never banned matches or assault lighters, those dangerous black Bic assault lighters. Matter of fact, if
the long barrel thing on it, that's got to be dangerous, right? Because you don't have to stand as close to the person to burn.
I saw somebody saw one off one time with those long assault lighters.
What's the minimum legal length for one of those anyway?
No, we need to find out.
Yeah.
Tony says free men don't ask for permission. Love that. And here's the thing: if a 5-year-old has the money, he can walk in and buy a lighter and an assault lighter and walk out and set his damn house on fire. So talk about age limits, man. Stopping adults, Americans, those who are 18 and over, but under 21, so 18, 19, 20, from legally purchasing any firearm would potentially have saved 1.85 American lives a year over the past 40 years. Because we start talking about, maybe 21-year-olds maybe got to wait till you're 21 to buy a rifle. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
And I'm using, by the way, just so you know, the data I'm using, I didn't go to I'mRight.com or richbrown.com. I went to Mother Jones mass shooting database. Mother Jones is as left-leaning as you can get. They're going to find every single stat they can use here. So only 8 times since 1982 to 2022, when I did this research, so 40 years, only 8 times has someone under 21 legally purchased firearms and then carried out a mass shooting. Okay. And when we look at those, one of those under 21-year-olds was a 20-year-old police officer, Tyler Peterson, who killed 6 and injured 1 with his duty-issued AR-15. So, and another of the under 21 cohort was an active duty U.S. airman who went on a mass shooting spree.
That was a Fairchild, wasn't
it? Yes, I believe so. And our friend Andy Brown shot him in the face from 70 yards away with a Beretta pistol.
There you go.
Yep. Wrote a book about it. We've had him on the show. Good dude. The mean age for American mass shooters is 33, with ages ranging from 11 to 67. So if we're going to use age as a restrictor to who can get these weapons, then we're going to say, 67, I guess, is a safe time to get it, because no 67-year-old has ever committed a mass shooting.
Well,
maybe
there
that's
is that. I mean, pretty hard to argue with that.
It's just math, guys. Preventable deaths. Because I think this is what this whole conversation is about. We want to prevent these unnecessary deaths, right? I mean, a mass shooting is horrific. You just drop your kids off at college. You don't want to ever worry about, them getting hurt or killed, shot in that kind of environment. So, because that's a preventable death. But guess what? We don't even bat a freaking eye at the number 1 leading cause of death, which is tobacco. Or the second leading cause of death is obesity and health-related issues from being overweight. An estimated 300,000 deaths per year are due to the obesity epidemic. And yet, when you look at schools, they just continue to pull any kind of recreation, PT, gym, classes on how to eat healthier. Our food is toxic.
Yep.
And guess what? The third leading cause of death is, drum roll, It ain't mass shootings.
What is it?
Each year, about 251,000 Americans are killed because of medical error. That's a 9.5% of all deaths in the United States of America annually. So almost 10% are killed via their healthcare providers. So more deaths than strokes, accidents, or Alzheimer's. Yet no one's suggesting that we ban doctors and nurses or scalpels.
Right.
This is a big one, and this is the one
Well,
that really turned around. We had a really close friend of Mike and I, and we were at their place teaching a class. And the wife was like, after dinner one night, she's like, "Can I talk to you guys in here?" She took us into another room and showed us a video about the AR-15
mhm.
and said, "Why should anybody have this?" So again, I'm armed with the facts. I'm like, how many people do you think are killed each year on these kind of mass shootings? And again, not just AR-15s, but
Mhm.
any weapon of war.
Mhm.
It's hundreds. I mean, we're just a wash of them. It's about eight in schools. Of course, that's
Mhm.
what we're talking about. And she couldn't believe it. I said, and she was a healthcare provider. She'd actually written a textbook on this. I said, "What's the third leading cause of death?" And she just smiled. She goes, "I see where you're going with this." Okay, what is it? Is it AR-15s? She's like, "No, it's a medical error." Like, exactly. I'm not trying to ban you
Mhm.
from doing what you do to your clients. So, anyway, I think we got Michael Gentili says hospitals and healthcare is a dangerous place.
Yep.
Yes.
It is. And, and so many of these school shooting numbers in the past have been skewed so much. They'll say, well, the children were on their way home from school and then this violence happened. They would count that as school violence. It's like, no. And I forget who it was. Is one of the guys who regularly watches this here was talking about New York City, where they put metal detectors in the schools at one point,
Mm-hmm,
and then the shootings would happen outside of school between the
mm-hmm,
gang members. And the those didn't count as school violence because it helped them bolster their numbers, that the metal detectors help school violence numbers go down.
yeah.
Right. So the numbers can be skewed anyway. Like, whether you want to talk about economics or this, that they'll skew the numbers to go with this. So I'm so glad you pulled the numbers from, say, like Mother Jones, because they're going to skew it to the worst.
Absolutely. So, if we're looking at that, here's another preventable death: opioids. In the same vein as healthcare providers, let's look at another preventable death. Opioids alone kill about 50,000 Americans each year, roughly 136 a day. That's almost like a plane crash every single day.
Hmm.
A
Sure
small
is.
commuter jet just slams into the pavement every single day. And yet nobody blinks an eye at it. Overall, 96,700 Americans die each year from drug overdoses. Many are saved with Narcan. Now, if you take Narcan out of the equation, now what does that number look like? It's through the roof.
Yeah.
Now, to put that in perspective, now that's annually. Now, this is the thing, like, because we have opioids is the 50,000, but when you factor in all drug overdoses, you get to 96,000. That's how that works.
Okay.
And when you look at 8 or 10 years in Vietnam, we lost 58,000 Americans. During the 20 years of the global war on terror, 6,930 Americans died in 20 years of war. And yet we're losing almost 100,000 Americans dying to drugs every year. And since 1999, about 1 million Americans have died from drug overdoses. So, and I think when you look at, and most of these are young people because their frontal lobe isn't developed and they're doing stupid
Hmm.
crap.
Sure.
Um, and according to the left-leaning Washington Post, since the massacre at Columbine in 1999, 23 years, 185 children, educators, and other people have been killed in assaults at school, and another 369 have been injured. That's 8 to 10 deaths a year on average in a country of 330 million people. And at the time of this is over 1 million versus school shootings of 185.
Yep.
So to me, this is just one of those things where never let a crisis go to waste, or whatever that saying
Yep.
is, right?
Yep. Never let a good crisis go to waste.
Yeah.
And so much of this too is, we can come back to the 24-hour media machine, right? because they can't cover every drug overdose like they can cover a school shooting, right? It isn't going to play the same. It isn't going to engender the same anger inside of a society, right? Even if it's a child that overdoses, right?
Yeah.
And we've all read the stories about the child being raised and mom and dad are both drug addicts, and the child is poisoned with that, and that enrages us. But sorry, guys, I mean, it's just a number when it's one or two, right?
Yeah.
And the media doesn't play it up. If the media can you imagine if the media played that up the same way they play up, a school shooting like the one that happened in Minneapolis?
Yeah.
Just last week.
As you were talking, I was thinking of something you were saying a moment ago, and you were talking about like the metal detectors cause this. Now I can't get in with my gun to shoot somebody. Now I got to wait and get them on, a block away from the school. And that answers the mail for me, because one of the left-leaning sites I saw, they counted school shootings like if they happened within 300 yards of the school.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm going through the data, because they had an Excel spreadsheet, so I was playing around with the data. It was like, so-and-so heard gunshots, and they were counting that. So-and-so heard gunshots and reported it, and yet they were, 100 yards away from the school. And I'm like, no wonder your data is just
right,
freaking bananas. Or little Timmy had a round impact near his toe, leaving, something near the school. And I'm like, man, so, and it speaks to Gerald's point. It says, once you take statistics, you never believe counts without seeing the data. So I took that and just threw it out. I'm like, I can't even make sense of this, because it's something, because if it does push them to do their killings off school grounds because they can't get through the metal detector, that is a serious problem.
Yeah. Well, and to your point about it, depends how you look at the data, right? Somebody heard gunshots and they were within 300 yards of a school. Well, I can make my net worth look really good if I run it in Zimbabwe dollars. The problem is I have to purchase in US dollars.
All right.
So, yeah.
So putting aside mass shootings just for a moment, if you go to, again, the Business Insider, not necessarily a right-leaning rag, homicidal assaults by firearm kill about 13,000 Americans each and every year. And what's funny, when you hear these people talk about gun deaths, they'll use that word purposely, because if you look at the CDC's numbers for gun deaths, they include suicides by firearm. So you have to go in and strip that out. And when you do, it's about 13,000 people killed instead of 50,000. And to put that into context, you have a roughly 1 in 315 lifetime chance of death from gun violence. But when you looked at relative to mass shootings, it's actually 1 in 11,125 chance of death by mass shooting. And remember, you have a 1 in 10 chance of dying at the hands of your healthcare provider. And like a 1 in 3 chance of dying from obesity or some obesity related cause. So, and we say this all the time, right? On whether it's on this show or when we bring guests on, and they'll say the same thing. Like, look, you're far more likely to die of cardiovascular disease than you are in a shooting in a Walmart parking lot. So take care of your health and fitness first.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And it'll help you. And doing that will help you twofold, because you probably won't be obese, and you'll be better able to defend yourself at Walmart, or at least run away.
Exactly.
So it's a twofer.
What's Donald say here?
It says Newport News, Virginia, 3 killed in the middle of the night in the summer in the woods beside an elementary school parking lot, mandated by the U.S. Department of Education as a school shooting. And then the next comment was, he forgot to add, it was a drug deal gone bad.
Exactly. So, that's why the data is so difficult, and everybody's got their own rules for how they claim. I remember Obama changed the rule as to what a mass shooting was.
Yep. Took it down to 3 people, I believe.
That's right. Yep. Sure did.
Yeah. Yep. And so, I mean, so then a lot of crime, especially in, bigger cities, gang on gang crime can be reported as a mass shooting. Right. What's Brian say there? I'm interested to hear about that one with the Dallas one.
The downtown Dallas police massacre occurred July the 7th, 2016. My son, who had been on a night shift in the Dallas for 6 of the 7 years where the department had changed PDs 6 days earlier, those were his guys that was hit far harder, I bet, man, than tours in Iraq. And that one was bad. And if you look at who the perpetrator was on that, it was like Micaiah X, he was
Hmm.
a black nationalist, black supremacist that decided to kill a bunch of white police officers, and he did.
And that one, the videos of that incident are shocking.
Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a former Army guy, so
Hmm.
he did have weapons training. He did have some
Yep.
tactical training.
Yep. And he moved like it too,
Yes, he did.
for
He
sure.
flanked his targets and killed them. This is an interesting stat. Now, again, as I put at the very beginning, this data is accurate as of June of 2022. So it's 3 years old. And I apologize. I spent a month putting together that old data and I just repurposed it for now. So tack on 3 more years.
Hmm.
49.6% of the time, the mass shooter had a prior history of mental illness. With a mean age of 33.5. These are the prior mental health issues. So I understand mental health issues are on a severity scale. I don't want to stigmatize mental illness because only 64 people with mental illness out of nearly 53 million Americans who have
Hmm.
some form of mental illness committed mass shootings. So
Right.
what we get,
Infinitesimally small.
exactly, infinitesimally small. But we do need to look at the fact that what I believe is we don't have a gun problem. We have a mental health crisis that's masquerading as a gun problem. And I'm not the first
Absolutely.
obviously to
Yep.
say that, but out of America's 400 million firearms, 148 of them have been used in mass shootings over the past 40 years. And this is Mother Jones data because they actually track whether the assailant came in the school with a Smith & Wesson Model X or a Maverick Model 88 or whatever. And the other thing I did when I used this data, 148 firearms, they may have only shot the handgun, but if they brought 3 guns in the school shooting and only shot, I counted the 3 guns. You see what
Okay.
I'm saying? So
Yep.
actually 148, it's actually probably half of that.
Sure.
Since they were in their vehicle or on their person, we count that. So what that means is, again, it's not even statistically relevant to say that guns are a problem. 0.000000037% of firearms were used in these mass shootings. 20 assault weapons were used in mass shootings over the last 40 years. And yet this is the one that they really want to go after.
Yeah.
And again, they talk about high capacity magazines, which a lot of places have banned. I mean, if you're selling guns these days, there's a long list, can't have more than 11, can't have more than 10. Hell, I maintain 2 10-round magazines just for when I have to go teach in California or New
Right.
Jersey or some of these other places and I have to play by the rules. Otherwise, it's ridiculous. I wouldn't worry about that.
Yep. Absolutely. And as we saw here, though the bad guys will jump through the hoops. The guy that you started with talking about over there in Norway, he spent 2 years jumping through every hoop there was.
Yeah.
So
And tactical patience, right? I mean,
yes.
I got no problem. He had a plan and he executed his plan. Joseph said, in my town, there are private armed security guards at every elementary school, SROs at middle and high schools. And Gerald says, who's actually saying that kills people? Yeah, great
Yeah.
freaking point.
Yeah.
So Mike and I offered a solution. I'm going to give you the bullet points of it. And I think this is the last slide we got. Thank you to listening to us today. And I'll go into some of these, but basically it's the 4 Ds: deter, detect, deny, delay, defend, and destroy. So basically, if you let Rich Brown be emperor for a day, we would create a federalized classroom officer program as part of the Homeland Security or whatever. We would advertise the lethality of our armed teachers, the program, the elite instructor cadre, and we allow any teacher to apply for this federal program. And only very few would be selected. We're going to pay them a lot of money. We're going to give them training. What's interesting about this? It's ready made for you got summers off. Great, you're going to come to FLETC, and you're
Yep.
going to train.
Yep.
Now we have a lot of. If you look at the coaching staff at a lot of these schools, look at the history teachers, a lot of these are former vets. We can also use this as we have the Troops to Teachers program that the DoD runs in concert with the Department of Education. You take that as a pipeline to get some of these vets to become teachers. and then offer them big incentives to strap a weapon back on and take care of this. So I think there's a lot of utility in something like this. we did the same thing with the federal air marshals.
Hmm.
There's a lot of videos of a guy with a balaclava on and being interviewed. That's Seeklander.
Okay.
I don't know if you knew that or not.
I
You
did
could
not know
find,
that. No.
yeah, you could find those. He was talking about how the air marshals are training to counter hijack airplanes at 30,000 feet and blah, 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 blah. And they've got his voice altered and he's wearing a balaclava. But it sets the tone for, you want to try this on a
Yep.
plane? We're going to shoot you in the face.
Exactly.
And then we did the FFDO program to take pilots and highly skilled pilots. We're going to teach them, train them, hold them accountable. We have the qualification courses for them, et cetera. And they're not going to break cover. These teachers that are armed, they don't break cover until it's time to rock and roll. That's the same that the FAMs do, the FFDOs do, et cetera. And if we don't want to, go ahead.
Well, and to your point, I believe Utah is the longest standing armed teacher program, and they advertise it very well, including, I believe, signage outside some, if not all, the schools. And last I looked, which has been a little while ago, so I stand by to be corrected, they were the only state that never had a school shooting.
It's probably just a coincidence.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I wasted everyone's time bringing that up.
I mean, think about that. I mean, you're a commercial airline pilot.
Mhm.
Do we just put a sign, this is a gun-free zone. You can't come in here. Better not.
Yep.
And we take a $1.98 sign that they bought at Lowe's and stick it on the outside of the plane and just hope for the best. Hell no.
Yeah.
We've got multiple layers of security to get in there. And even if all that fails, there may or may not be somebody on that flight that's trained and prepared and equipped to shoot you in the face as soon as you step.
Yep.
So I think that this could be a viable option. I support it 100%. Now here's the problem, but you got to have leadership that can handle this. So you would have to create the county school security officer program or something like that, throw it underneath the Department of Homeland Security, what have you. Because right now, I'm going to tell you right now, interfacing with these when I was with the Red Cross, some were phenomenal. Most were not. Most were terrible. You would have the county that has a school security director. Normally it was a failed teacher. So imagine Miss Becky, she's obese. She knows nothing about security, but she's done something stupid in the classroom. We don't want to really fire her. She's got to get her pension. We're going to roll her over into this security director.
Yeah.
Because we like her. And that's what she's going to do. She's going to focus on that. Wink, wink. What she's really doing, and I'm not talking out of my side of my ass here. I dealt with this throughout 96 counties in the state of Tennessee when I ran the state of Tennessee for the Red Cross. And she's focused on tardiness. I start talking about security, and she's just gives me a blank look. So, well, the PD has that, the county has that. But then you drill down on that, the PD has one set of rules. The PD might be, we're going in when 2 officers arrive on scene. The county might say, well, we're going to wait for 3, or another PD and within that county, a smaller one might say, we don't have 2, we're going in with 1 guy. So everybody's on their own sheet of music. So this would put everybody on the same playbook on how to respond to this and take a lot of the guesswork out of the equation. Now, this person that is going to be the director of each county, we talk about 3,000 counties in the United States. It's not that big, but they're going to be hired by our merit council. The school board's going to get a look at them. The mayor's going to get a look at them. The county and the city police chiefs are going to get a look at who these people are, and they're going to be given no collateral duties.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to the teachers and the SROs, because I think the best thing would be a team. You got teachers that are undercover. You only need 2 or 3 in the school.
Right.
And then you got one SRO there, whether he's hired by the whomever or he's a police officer, it doesn't matter. You got a uniform and ununiformed presence, so they complement each other. Anyway, so let's look back. So that's kind of number 1, deter. You let them know you come in here, you can get shot. This is not a gun-free zone. Okay, let's be clear. This is not a gun-free zone. There are guns in this school, and they're here for one thing.
Yep.
What does Donald Green say?
Says he was a security director for two of the largest school districts in Virginia for a combined 12 years. Many of his colleagues in other districts were, as Rich describes, failed assistant principals.
I saw it
So
again and again, Donald.
find some place to put them, and oh look, we need to fill this gap because there's some some requirement on a county, state, or federal level to have a security advisor, or whatever the word is there. And so, yeah, put Miss Becky over there and that, and we'll pigeonhole her there for the next 4 years till she gets her pension.
And I'm telling you, man, they were lucky to have somebody like Donald Green there as their security director, somebody that knows what the hell he's doing, because most of these don't. He goes on to say, I had some of the most professional school security officers who worked hand in hand with the police SROs, and I would trust with the pistols. Other, I wouldn't trust around scissors. Yeah. That's the
In
thing. They got
talking
it.
to some guys I know in law enforcement, SROs are either cream of the crop who want to protect kids, or they're the guys like Miss Becky.
Yeah.
If they
Or
don't know what
Scott
else to do
Peterson.
with them, it's a good place to put them.
Yeah. So we got that. We're gonna deter. If you step in here and try to harm a child, we're gonna kill you. Full stop. That needs to be this placards on every damn door.
Mhm.
Detect. The Department of Education, DHS, DOJ, whatever, would initiate some sort of school district intelligence teams. And they're going to set at-risk indicators, just like Israel did after the 1974 school massacre. They set these things and then they went after it. So young people that make terroristic threats, domestic violence, bomb threats, aggravated assaults with a weapon, anything like that, you're an at-risk indicator, and then we're going to have to make some decisions about you. Now, I'm not saying that we need to go around and red flag these kids. What I'm saying is they need to be dealt with peer, i.e., teen on teen peer engagement. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Some sort of teen court or whatever, some sort of outside the judicial system. Because I'm not wanting some kid who's dealing with mommy and daddy splitting up and he calls in a bomb threat to suddenly be a felon and lose everything.
Right.
But only the gravest of circumstances would we ever, take these kids that have been red flagged and let them lose their liberties or their rights. And of course, part of the detect would be putting cameras all over school property so that we can coordinate communication plans. We can communicate a counter assault on these people once they come in, etc. What does our good friend Dr. Fuller say?
He says federally running such a program would, amongst other things, mean money. Many of these communities have small PDs that can't afford to put officers in schools and run their regular patrol duties, let alone the necessary training. Relieving the communities of the financial requirements would be a huge help, along with many other benefits. Yeah. I mean, if we're gonna print money and get rid of our purchasing power and all the other stuff we talk about from the economic standpoint, let's do it there.
I agree.
I agree. Yeah, but it's way easier to just say, "I'll put up a little sign, 4x6, gun-free zone."
And they go to these. There's a reason why they shoot there. They don't go to NRA convention and shoot that place up. They don't go to the local, what do they call it, gun show that they have every weekend at the fairgrounds. They don't go there.
Show up at the USPSA match and try to shoot the place up.
Never have. Never will. It's gonna get burned.
It'd be like, hey, there's a piñata.
Yeah,
have at it, guys.
That's right.
Yeah.
Let's see. So deny and delay. The problem with this one is denying access to the school is hard. School has to be a place where parents, aunts, uncles, boyfriends, even the children feel safe and warm and welcome to come in, right? So this is the challenge. But we have to delay the mass killer. And I think we can do that by, in the morning, maybe there's one singular point of entrance, and then, but if you need to, everything can become an egress, just like planes do, right?
Yep. Well, and I'm remembering, was it North Little Rock, school shooting? The two kids sat out in the woods next to the school, waiting for everybody to come out. They didn't come out for recess or whatever it was, so they went down and pulled a fire alarm.
Yes.
And like Pavlov's dogs, everybody very astutely and I'm sure perfectly, but according to the plan, walked outside with no real thought process going on.
Yeah.
So what I pushed when my kids were in school was look around. Yes, the fire alarm went off. Any smoke?
Mhm.
Any evidence of anything. I mean, it can be just a legit false alarm, but it could also be a way to get everybody to go on a predetermined route to predetermined spaces, which are outside.
Yeah,
And let's
agreed.
face it, most buildings now, especially this one building I'm thinking of where my kids went to elementary school, is made of cinder block. There's not much that's really going to burn there fast, right? It
Right.
wasn't a stick built house. It was cinder block with drop ceiling and a steel roof. It's not going to burn very quick.
Well, most of those, most schools are built like that. They're cinder block
Mhm.
buildings, and they've been reinforced with rebar and pumped with concrete down the tops of them so that
Yeah.
they can handle tornadoes and stuff like that. Well, guess what? It also makes them really good ballistically.
Yes.
So if we deny entrance into the individual classrooms, okay, we harden those like we hardened cockpits after 9/11. And again, it doesn't have to be anything crazy. There's these little $100 per unit that are right next to the door. You slam them on the door, and it keeps
Yeah.
that. Now, there's a when I did the analysis, there was 138,000 schools in the United States, and each one with dozens of rooms and doors. So this is going to cost money, even at $100 per unit. We're
Yeah.
talking about, let's say there's 50 doors and rooms,
Yeah.
138,000 schools. So we're talking about basically 7 million doors and rooms that we got to harden, and each one's going to
Mhm.
cost $100. We're talking about $500 million.
Yeah.
But if we're going to spend freaking money, man,
Yeah.
I
Well, there's
mean,
that. And this is one where, I'd say, go to the community.
mhm,
Local business here, very large business. Um, they got wind our local sheriff's office needed some equipment, and the guy who started the place went, sure, and stroked the check.
yeah,
Just because it's a public school doesn't mean they can't go to the private sector and say, hey, we want to do this. You know, will you step up and write a check for all or part of this?
mhm,
And there's people and businesses that are looking for those opportunities to help. So it
agreed.
doesn't all have to come from the federal government, although that's the easy
Right.
solution to pass the legislation.
Well, it takes we don't have the money, it takes
Mhm.
all this shit out of it. Like, hey, no problem.
Yeah.
Um, and here's another thing, and this is a very important thing when it comes to denying, delay, and access to the killer into the school. These things should be transparent to the child. The child doesn't need to see it, doesn't need to
Mhm.
worry about it. Some schools have done a really good job. When you look at the active killers that come through these schools, they're looking in those little windows, right? They're looking to see
Right.
if they see children. They see children, open the door, go in and shoot.
Yep.
So in my scenario, when the alarm goes, every teacher runs to the thing. They've got it pulls off the thing on the wall. They slam it on the door where the hinge that does like
Mhm.
this at the top of the
Yep.
door.
Yep. Yep. The door
It's
opener.
basically like a cone. It goes over
Yep.
it, latches onto it. It will not allow the door to open. And the other thing is they'll paint on the floor. You could put tape immediately, but over time you may want to put tiles or something so that angularly, if you look in there and every child stands on one side of that line, you
Mhm.
can't see the killer can't see anybody in the room, and he'll just
Yep.
bypass it and keep going.
Yep.
And again, if they're against that wall and behind that line, then even if he starts shooting through that center block wall, the bullets are not going to harm the children. They're
Right.
ballistically protected. So again, all this stuff is transparent to the child. They walk over that blue line on the floor every day, don't even think a thing
Yeah.
about it until it's time to do active shooter drills. And then the alarm goes off and they jump to the other side of that blue line.
Yep.
The teacher slams the thing on. And if you're an armed educator, it's your time to shine, pal. You could
Yeah.
earn your pay.
Yep. And
Um,
and to that point with things like that, even some simple things. Now, this would not be cheap, but in designing new schools or remodels, have doors like classroom doors, have them open outward. You ever try to kick in a door that opens outward? I do that with all the doors on my home. They're all swapped
mhm,
around. They all open outward.
mm,
Plus, if there's a panic situation like a fire, a reason to leave, you're not going to panic and try and as you're trying to get out of a building, you want to push. That's why like commercial buildings, it's all push to get out, right?
mhm.
Do it in schools too. I've seen schools with inward opening doors, and I just shake my head.
Yeah.
And they were built in a different time. They didn't think about those things, and it wasn't a code, and so it is what it is. But when they remodel it, swap that
Right.
door around.
Yeah, it's interesting. I need to think on that one. I could think of some issues just off the top of my head with how that might be a challenge as well.
Oh, sure. It's not going to be an easy swap, especially, cinder block building is concreted in. It's going to be
Yeah.
it's going to be a project.
And that's the thing, creating a standard, one standard for 138,000 schools uh, means there's never some administrator deciding an active killer was a barricaded gunman in a school like we saw with Uvalde. There's one standard. And
Mhm.
every time there's a killer at or near the school, the armed responders go.
Yeah.
It's not like, well, let's wait and see. We're going to treat this as a
Mhm.
barricaded gunman. Is it on school?
Yeah.
Yeah, then we go. We kill them.
Yep.
That's it.
Exactly. Yep. If the bad guy decides to go down that road, it ends one way.
Yeah. He's chosen, I think Dr. Fuller says he's chosen the terms of our relationship. And I only have one solution. It's go and
That's
find
it.
him and kill him.
Yep.
And the other thing about having this armed teacher cadre there, and I'm not talking about arming teachers. Don't listen to what I'm saying. I'm not saying you got a CCW permit, Bubba. You can be the armed teacher, take your Velcro holster and your Caltech and go do whatever you can do. No, 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 no. I'm talking about everybody's got the same firearm. Everybody's got the same training. Everybody's carrying the same rounds in their magazines. It's a uniform way, just like the FAMs are, just like the FFDOs are.
Yep.
We already have a template for this, guys. It works. And look what we haven't had another hijacked airliner in the United States of America since 2001 for a freaking reason.
That's right.
So anytime a killer gets on or near a school, there's no question about it. The SRO and these armed educators that are highly trained would immediately push on the threat and kill them with surprise, speed, violence of action. Because they work together, they train together, they know what the playbook's going to be. So that would minimize blue on blue. And we're just going to need, when it's over, we're going to need police to come, mostly just to work the crime scene because we've already taken care of it.
Yep, for sure. So
Dr. Fuller says all of this would certainly be difficult and a lot of work, but the difficulty of the task should not be a bar to the attempt. This is too important. It is, man.
Yep.
I don't want to worry about my children at school. I know you don't. Dr. Fuller doesn't. Brian doesn't. Donald doesn't. Gerald doesn't. We want to send them there and know they're going to be safe. And again, I like the idea of, I don't know, when I go into school to pick up my kids, I don't know who the armed educator is. None of my freaking business.
Exactly. Yep. So and it's kind of fun to, as self-defense guys play the game of who is it? Can I figure it out?
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like the old, you got marked cop cars and unmarked, and there's value in both. The society needs to see a certain amount of marked cars, and from a strategic standpoint, need a certain amount of unmarked cars.
Exactly. Now, so imagine this. If you blow your cover, you're a coach and you tell your football team, hey, by the way, I got it handled. Well, then you're fired, you're off. It's the same thing. If a fan blows his cover, you're done.
Yeah.
This is a clandestine service and you're going to make 2x what your other teachers make, and because you're going to have to meet physical fitness standards, right? If you can't pull your fat ass over a bar, then you don't need to be one of these armed educators. So there's going to be a shooting standard equivalent to or in excess of what the air marshals, and they're going to get paid for their summers because they're going to be training. And I don't understand what's so hard. Every time I talked about this, and one of my shooting squads for USPSA, there was several teachers that were on my squad, a squad of 8 guys, and there's 2 or 3 educators that were big jack dudes who would freaking love to shepherd over their flock.
Yeah.
And why are we disarming them? I don't know.
It makes the sheep feel better.
It does.
And that's what it comes. And unfortunately, that's what our society is all about. That's why you see gun-free zones in other places,
But it's funny. Where are the gun-free zones in America? There's barely schools. That's like the only place. And it's
I was thinking more of like in private businesses putting the signs up.
Yeah.
So, but it makes them feel better because they think they've done something.
Yes.
Well, they did do something. They made it a free fire zone for the bad guy.
That's right. And that's all I had, Will. Thank you for putting the show together today, man. And
I greatly enjoyed this talk on it. Awesome job, brother. Glad you were able to put that stuff back together.
Thank you to the 16 folks watching us live. And, I wish we didn't have to have these conversations about mass shootings, but sadly we do. And taking away your gun rights is not the solution to it.
Right.
As I hopefully have shown there, if we're trying to stop, these unacceptable deaths, then there are other things that we can do, whether that's the things that we've laid out this morning or doing something about the opioid crisis, the obesity crisis, making healthcare better so it doesn't kill 1 in 10 Americans every year. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's all I got, bro.
All right, man. All right, guys, the fight's coming. Be ready.